My daughter called in the middle of the night. Dad, I'm at the police station. My stepfather hit me, but now he's saying I attacked him, and they believe him. When I reached the station, the officer on duty went pale and stammered, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know. Before we begin, let me know in the comments which country you're from and how old you are. Let's continue. The call came at 3:17 a.m. on a Thursday in late October, the kind of night when the air feels sharp and the moon hangs low, casting an uneasy glow. I was already half awake, the way parents become when their children no longer live under the same roof, alert to every sound that could mean trouble. The ringtone was Emily's favorite song, Sunflower Skies by Nova Ray, played in a slow piano version she'd chosen years ago when she was 15 and thought every detail of her playlist mattered. My hand found the phone in the dark before my eyes adjusted to the screen. The name glowed, Emmy Bear. Dad, she whispered, her voice trembling, barely audible over the hum of fluorescent lights. I'm at the police station. My stepfather beat me, but now he's saying I attacked him. They believe him. The words hit like a jolt of ice water. I was already pulling on jeans with one hand, phone pressed to my ear. Stay calm, Em. I'm on my way. Don't say anything until I get there. Understand? I tried to fight back, but he's stronger. The officers looked at me like I was the one to blame. Her voice cracked, followed by a sob. There's blood on my hoodie, Dad. Please hurry. The line went dead. The clock read 3:19 a.m. I grabbed my keys, wallet, and the old leather jacket from my academy days, the one with frayed cuffs and the faint scent of gun oil. My truck started before I shut the door. The drive to the Midtown precinct took 23 minutes through empty streets. Every red light a frustration, every shadow a taunt. My mind kept circling back to Richard. Of course it was him, Lisa's husband of 4 years, the man with polished charm, expensive watches, and a laugh that never reached his eyes. He once told me, straight-faced, that Emily was just going through a phase after a bad grade in algebra. I'd wanted to believe Lisa when she said he was good for them, that he made her happy. I'd wanted Emily to have a steady home while I worked double shifts at the security firm, telling myself retirement meant peace. I'd been wrong. The station's harsh fluorescent light spilled onto the wet pavement. I parked across 2 spaces and didn't care. Inside, the air smelled of coffee, bleach, and something metallic. Blood, fear, or both. Sergeant Mallory looked up from her desk and recognized me. Harlan, retired detective, badge 4729, still in the system. She silently waved me through, eyes flicking toward the holding area with quiet sympathy. Emily sat on a metal bench, knees drawn to her chest, one wrist cuffed to the rail with a plastic zip tie that had already left red marks. A deep bruise spread across her left cheekbone, dark and swollen, edging toward her temple. Her right eye was nearly closed, her lips split, dry blood along her brow. She wore my old Navy hoodie from last summer, the one that read property of Dad, torn and stained near the collar. When she saw me, her face crumpled. She tried to stand, but the cuff pulled her back. Across the room stood Richard Lang, 6'2", broad-shouldered, dressed to look respectable. His lower lip was cut and a thin scratch ran along his jaw. He leaned on the counter, arms crossed, wearing that same practiced half smirk he'd once flashed at a barbecue when he told Emily to smile more. His white shirt was speckled with blood. Whose, I couldn't tell. A young officer approached, badge reading J. Carter, early 20s, nervous, pale. He fumbled his clipboard, papers scattering. Mr. Harlan, he stammered, voice cracking. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Didn't know what? That I was her father? That I'd spent 22 years putting men like Richard behind bars? That I still had friends in every precinct from here to the county line? Carter led me past the desk to a side office, his boots squeaking on the floor. Richard straightened, his smirk fading for a moment before returning. Emily lifted her head, eyes filled with both fear and hope. Hoping I could fix this, fearing I couldn't. Officer Ramirez stood nearby, sharp-eyed, calm, her braid tight and neat. She watched Richard like he was already a suspect. Cut the zip tie, I said quietly. My tone was flat but firm. Carter hesitated, glancing toward his sergeant. Sir, there's protocol. Ramirez stepped forward, pulled a small blade from her belt, and sliced the tie in one clean motion. Emily rubbed her wrist, the red marks deep against her skin, then ran into my arms. Her whole body trembled. I held her at arm's length, scanning every injury under the harsh lights. Finger-shaped bruises, split lip, blood on her hoodie. She smelled faintly of vanilla, fear, and metal. Richard cleared his throat, his voice calm and polished, smooth as oil over broken glass. She came at me with a kitchen knife, Heron. I was defending myself. Look at my face. Look at my arms. She scratched me deep enough to scar. Emily's voice broke. He grabbed my hair. He slammed my face into the marble counter 3 times. I never touched a knife. I was trying to get to the door. Carter's eyes darted between us, sweat beading despite the humming air conditioner. He pulled me into the narrow hallway that smelled of mildew and old forms and lowered his voice. Mr. Heron, your daughter's phone recorded the incident. Audio only. She must have hit record when she dialed 911. We listened. It doesn't match Mr. Lang's statement. Richard laughed it off. Could be edited. Kids and their AI apps, deepfakes. Carter ignored him and glanced at the one-way glass where Ramirez now stood guard. There's more. The 911 call, she made it at 11:47 p.m. He's hurting me. Please hurry. He won't stop. Then a crash, a scream, and the line cut off. We have the timestamp. Lang claims she dialed by mistake while attacking him. He said she was hysterical. The smirk left his face. Something colder took over. Calculation. Carter spoke quieter, like the walls might listen. When we checked backgrounds, Lang's past surfaced. 3 domestic complaints across 2 states, Ohio and Nevada. Sealed juvenile records that still show up if you know where to look. One case ended when a girlfriend dropped charges after an apology. Sir, Carter said, your name flagged in the system. You're the detective who put his brother away 15 years ago. Armed robbery, gas and go on 8th and Mercer. Tommy Lang swore revenge in court. The memory hit me. Tommy Lang, 22, wild-eyed, on grainy surveillance pistol whipping a clerk for $43 and a pack of Marlboros. I testified for hours, walked the jury through the tape. Tommy got 25 years. Richard had been 17 in the gallery, staring daggers at me. The hatred had aged into something polished and poisonous. He narrowed his eyes. Coincidence. Ancient history. You can't prove. Carter wasn't finished. He pulled up a still from the apartment hallway camera. Building C, 3rd floor. Lang dragging Emily inside by the arm at 11:42 p.m. No knife visible. Her pulling away. The lights go out. Someone flips the breaker. 43 seconds later, she stumbles out alone, bleeding, hoodie half off, calling 911 from the payphone downstairs. The super confirmed the payphone worked. He tested it at 11:50 p.m. because he heard sirens. Emily buried her face in my shoulder, tears soaking my shirt. I thought no one would believe me. Mom's on a business trip in Denver. He said he'd tell everyone I was crazy, like the smaller things. He yelled, shoved, grabbed my wrist until it marked. He said if I told, he'd make sure I ended up in foster care. Richard stepped back. Ramirez positioned herself to block the exit, hand on her holster. Carter's voice steadied. Richard Lang, you're under arrest for assault in the 2nd degree, filing a false report, witness intimidation, and destruction of evidence. Lang lunged, not at the officers but at Emily, growling. I moved on instinct, shoulder checking him into the cinder block wall with a thud. His head snapped back. Handcuffs, steel, not plastic, clinked on before he could recover. Ramirez read his rights in a clipped voice while he spat curses. As they led him away, he shouted, This isn't over, Harlan. You'll see. I'll bury you. Carter, hat in hand, rubbed his head, cheeks flushed. I owe you both an apology. I took the stepfather story at face value. Pretty girl in a hoodie, rich stepdad with a split lip. I wrote possible self-defense in the initial report. Won't happen again. I've called the watch commander. We're opening an internal review. I'm volunteering for the training panel. Emily's fingers dug into my hand. Can we go home? She whispered. Not yet, I said, softer. Photos first. Statements. We do this right. In the ER, nurses worked efficiently under bright lights, documenting every injury in detail. The cheekbone bruise spreading like a storm cloud, the split lip with loose skin, the fingerprint welts in perfect ovals, older yellow-green marks along her ribs that tightened the nurse's jaw. A social worker named Marisol, mid-40s, kind eyes, clipboard in hand, took Emily's full account behind a curtain while I waited outside, fists clenched so tight my knuckles ached. When they finished, the doctor, a woman with steel-gray hair and a measured voice, pulled me aside. Old fractures, she said quietly. a healed wrist from roughly 6 months ago, and a hairline crack in 2 ribs from 3 to 4 months back. This was not a first incident. We're required to report suspected ongoing abuse to CPS and the district attorney, she said. She'll need follow-up with a trauma specialist. Rage rose hot and black, but I swallowed it. Emily needed me steady, not reckless. Not the cop who once broke down a door without a warrant. Not the father who wanted to hunt Richard down in lockup. Back at my 2-story brick house on Maple Lane, a quiet street Lisa left when we divorced 8 years ago, we sat on the porch swing that creaked like an old friend. Dawn spread lavender and peach across the sky, glinting off frost-covered grass. Emily sipped hot chocolate from her old green dinosaur mug, its handle cracked, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. In daylight, the bruise on her cheek had deepened, purple fading into blue. "I should have told you sooner," she murmured, steam curling from her mug. "About the yelling. The way he'd corner me in the kitchen when Mom was in the shower. He'd say, 'Your mom works hard. Don't burden her with your drama.' I thought if I stayed quiet until college, until I turned 18, I could make it out." I put an arm around her carefully. "You're safe now," I said, "and you're never going back there. Ever." My phone buzzed against the railing. A text from Lisa. "Just landed in Denver, connecting flight delayed 3 hours. What's going on?" Richard's not answering and Emily's phone goes to voicemail. "I'm worried." Then another. "Call me now. I showed Emily." She bit her lip, reopening a split that bled again. "Mom's going to freak. She thinks I overreact. Says I'm too sensitive." "Let her freak," I said. "She needs to know who she married. And you're not sensitive. You're surviving." Lisa arrived at noon, eyes swollen from crying on the plane, hair pulled into the messy bun she hadn't worn since our college days. She dropped her suitcase in the driveway and ran straight to Emily, hugging her so hard I worried about her ribs. Emily froze at first, arms hanging stiff, then softened, burying her face in her mother's shoulder. "I'm so sorry, baby," Lisa whispered over and over. "I should have seen it. I should have listened." Richard's bail hearing was set for Monday. The DA, Monica Alvarez, a former colleague of mine from a home invasion task force, was pushing for no bail, citing flight risk, revenge motive, and overwhelming evidence. At my kitchen table, the same one where Emily once did her homework, Lisa sat twisting a tissue until it shredded. "He told me Emily was imagining things," she said, her voice breaking. "That she was jealous of our marriage, acting out, skipping class, sneaking around. I defended him. I thought I was protecting our family." She looked at Emily, tears in her eyes. "How did I miss this? How did I let him convince me you were the problem?" Emily reached across the table, her fingers still swollen. "You didn't miss it. He hid it from both of us. He waited until you were in the shower or on a work call. He'd smile for you and then," she shrugged softly, "he'd say things like, 'Your dad left because you're too much,' and I started believing him." Lisa broke down, sobbing into her hands. I set a glass of water in front of her, untouched. Emily rubbed her back gently, a daughter comforting her mother. Over the following weeks, the case unraveled Richard piece by piece. Neighbors stepped forward. Mrs. Delgado from 3B reported hearing screams and a loud thud one night. She thought it was the TV until she saw Emily limping to the bus stop the next morning, hoodie pulled low. A student from 2A had Ring camera footage of Richard carrying a black toolbox at 12:03 a.m., glancing around like he knew the blind spots. The building super, Mr. Patel, found the missing kitchen knife hidden in that toolbox behind paint cans, cleaned, but still carrying traces of Emily's blood. Lab results confirmed the DNA within hours. Another camera caught Richard dumping a torn sleeve of Emily's hoodie into the dumpster at 12:17 a.m., the sleeve containing her blood and his skin cells beneath her nails. The rest of the hoodie was later recovered, logged into evidence. Then came a letter from Tommy Lang, Richard's brother, sent from Ironwood State Prison and forwarded by the DA. "Tell Heron I'm sorry. Little brother always had a temper. Thought he'd changed after juvie. Didn't think he'd hurt a kid. If I'd been out, I'd have stopped him myself. Tell the girl she's stronger than both of us." Richard accepted a plea deal. 7 years, no parole for 5, plus a permanent restraining order protecting Emily, Lisa, and me. Lisa filed for divorce the same week, serving him through a deputy I'd worked with years ago. She moved into the spare bedroom down the hall from Emily, refusing to return to that apartment under any condition. Emily moved in with me permanently. We transformed the guest room into her space over a long weekend. String lights draped like constellations, a desk facing the window overlooking the maple tree. Posters of her favorite bands hung crookedly because she insisted on doing it herself. She painted the walls soft sage green and pinned her debate trophies, college brochures, and a printout of the Harlan Protocol training flyer to a corkboard. Some nights, nightmares gripped her, visions of Richard's hands at her throat. I'd sit beside her bed until her breathing calmed, the string lights casting faint constellations across her face. We built a quiet system. 3 knocks on the wall if she needed me. I'd knock back twice. I'm here. 4 months after the arrest, Emily and I sat on the living room floor eating pizza, boxes open across the old Persian rug Lisa left behind. Grease spots spread across the carpet, but neither of us cared. Emily scrolled through her phone, then looked up, eyes bright beneath the faint scar splitting her eyebrow. "Dad, remember Officer Carter?" she asked. "He messaged me on the precinct's community page. Because of what happened, the department's launching new domestic call training citywide. They're calling it the Harlan Protocol. It covers audio evidence, hallway cameras, prior injuries, everything." I raised an eyebrow. "Kid, you just changed policy for 4,000 officers." She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen in a long time. "We changed it. You believed me first." Lisa appeared in the doorway with a bowl of popcorn sprinkled with truffle salt. "Movie night. I vote for the one with the talking raccoon," Emily groaned. "Mom, we've seen that 12 times. 13's lucky," Lisa said, grinning, "and I brought extra cheese." Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall, soft and clean. Emily cracked the window, letting the cold air brush our faces. Snowflakes melted on her lashes. "Think we'll be okay?" she asked quietly. I pulled her close. Lisa leaned in from the other side until we were a tangle of blankets and laughter. "Better than okay," I said. "We're unbreakable now." For the first time, I believed it, but stories like ours don't tie up neatly. They stretch, fray, and strengthen over time. 6 months later, Emily began therapy twice a week with Dr. Singh, a trauma specialist known for her bright scarves and patient calm. Some days, Emily came home quiet, sketching in her notebook. Other days, she'd burst through the door announcing an aced physics test or an op-ed request from the school paper on teen advocacy. She joined debate, wore her healing as strength, and took second place at her first tournament, arguing for mandatory mental health days in schools. The trophy sat on her desk, under the glow of her string lights. Lisa sold her apartment, using the proceeds for Emily's college fund and a down payment on a small yellow house 2 streets away, with a wraparound porch and a kitchen big enough for Sunday pancakes. We learned to co-parent without resentment, syncing calendars and sharing dinners. Some evenings she'd stay for coffee, talking about work or Emily's laugh, stronger now than ever. One Saturday, Officer Carter showed up with a box of donuts and the same shy grin. "The training's rolling out citywide," he said. "Wanted to say thanks in person. And my sister, she was in a bad situation. Your daughter gave me the courage to help her leave. She's safe now." Emily hugged him so tightly his hat rolled off the porch. Lisa snapped a photo. Carter red-faced, Emily beaming, and me pretending to scold them for the mess. A year after the arrest, Emily turned 18. We threw a backyard party under string lights and maple branches. Her playlist filled the air. Songs that made Lisa groan and me pretend to hate. Friends, coworkers, and even Ramirez from the precinct came. Carter brought his sister Marissa, who hugged Emily and whispered thanks for the crisis hotline number she'd sent months before. As dusk settled, Emily pulled me aside under the maple tree and handed me a small wooden box. "Open it," she said. Inside was a keychain shaped like a silver badge, engraved on the back, "For the ones who believe us." "I had it made," she said softly. "For you. For every kid scared to speak. For every officer who learns to listen." I clipped it to my keys that night. It's still there. 6 months later, Richard tried to appeal his sentence, claiming new evidence from a witness who said Emily was violent. The case collapsed. Too many records, too many cameras. The witness turned out to be a cellmate promised commissary money. Last I heard, Richard was in protective custody after picking a fight over a TV remote. Tommy Lang wrote again. "Karma's slow but sure. Tell the kid she's a warrior. Emily graduated top of her class, delivering a speech on believing survivors that went viral on the district's Facebook page. Letters from universities arrived in stacks. Stanford, NYU, the state university. She chose state, close enough to visit, far enough to grow. Her essay was titled "The Night I Learned My Voice Was Evidence." The night before she left for orientation, we sat on the porch swing surrounded by fireflies. She wore my old hoodie, patched with constellation fabric she'd sewn herself. "Dad," she said, tracing her eyebrow scar, "remember when you told me about your first beat? You thought a badge and flashlight could fix everything." I nodded. "I used to think justice was a gavel hitting wood. Now I think it's louder. It's showing up at 3 a.m. It's listening when a kid says he hurt me instead of she's dramatic. It's believing the girl with the bruise instead of the man with the smile." I swallowed hard. "You planning to fix the world, Em?" She grinned, the same grin from childhood. "One dorm room at a time, then maybe law school. Monica Alvarez said she'll write me a recommendation." Move-in day was chaos. Boxes stacked high, parents teary-eyed, RAs with clipboards. Lisa and I hauled the mini fridge up 3 flights while Emily directed traffic. When the last poster, a print of Starry Night, was hung, she hugged us both. "I'll call every night," she promised. "You better," Lisa said. "Only if there's drama," I teased. She rolled her eyes. That night, the house felt too quiet. Her room still glowed softly under the string lights. Sitting at her desk, I found the notebook she'd hidden under the mattress, filled with sketches of bruises fading into wings, constellations, and finally a girl on a porch swing holding a keychain like a torch. The last page read, "We don't break. We orbit. We light the way." I left a note on top, "Proud doesn't cover it." 2 years later, Emily interned with DA Alvarez, helping draft a bill expanding victim advocacy in schools, mandatory reporting training, tip lines, and counselors for every middle school. It passed Committee 9-2. Emily stood in the gallery when it was signed, wearing her faded hoodie. Carter, now Detective Carter, testified in support, badge polished bright. Lisa started a support group for parents who missed the signs, called Second Sight Parents. 23 families joined the first year, 50 the next. They meet every Tuesday, no judgment, just coffee and truth. As for me, I kept the keychain and kept showing up. At Emily's debates, at Lisa's open houses, at the precinct when Carter needed someone to teach new officers how to read the room. I began mentoring retired cops, pairing them with kids in the juvenile system who reminded us who we used to be. Sometimes I still dream of that 3:17 a.m. ringtone, Emily's voice cracking on Dad. But now, when I wake, I know the story doesn't end under fluorescent lights and zip ties. It continues on a porch swing beneath string lights, with a girl who spoke her truth into a citywide echo, a mother who learned to listen, and a father who learned justice isn't always a badge or a gavel. Sometimes it's a keychain engraved with a promise. Sometimes it's a story told until it becomes a law. Sometimes it's simply showing up again and again until the world believes. Until every kid with a bruise knows they're not the problem. Until every officer pauses before trusting the man with the smile. Until every parent looks closer and the cycle finally breaks. And on nights when snow falls soft and silent, I sit on that porch swing alone, keychain in my palm, knowing Emily's out there, shining, orbiting, pulling others into her light. Unbreakable, believed.